So the next album we're going to talk about is the sophomore album, Dirt, released in September of 1992.
Right after Nevermind.
13 songs, 57 minutes. It starts with Them Bones. The song finds the band wasting no time, pick up right where they left off on the debut album. What a fucking opening track. And it's one of the most iconic Alice in Chains songs to date. It's basically everything that you liked about the first album taken to the next level. I feel so alone. Gonna end up a big old pile of them bones.
God, as soon as you mention Them Bones, like I can hear Lane singing in my head. Like, this is such a great song. They waste no time. They get right into it. There's an iconic Cantrell riff and Lane's intense vocal filled with urgency and raw emotion. Really great solo. Great opening track. Them Bones. That's the way you open it.
Absolutely. Then we get into Damn That River. I always argue that Alice in Chains is more metal than grunge, but songs like this really encompass the grunge sound. Even though the guitars are heavy as fuck, it's got that weird kind of off-kilter grunge style of composition to the song. And this is a song that I heard so many times growing up. If my older brother's listening, shout out for turning me on to this gem of an album. Great song. Yeah. Damn That River.
Heavy riffing, another good solo. There's an infectious groove to this track. I dig it.
Rain When I Die is the next song. So this, again, reminding you, this came out in 1992. So we reviewed Tool's Undertow a little while back. And holy shit, are there some similarities in the style here, which is funny because you always think of Tool as a progressive metal band, but damned if they didn't take a lot of inspiration from grunge in the early days.
I was gonna say, Undertow, they're still not quite progressive yet. They got a lot of rock going on there. So.
Yeah, and man, I listened to this and I just could hear Maynard singing over it. But this song is so fucking badass. Once again, you get these beautiful vocal harmonies. Yes, I'm going to say vocal harmonies a lot in this episode because that's Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
But it's just so fucking powerful, man. So powerful.
Yes, track's a little darker. It's more atmospheric. With the opening bass riff dominating and Cantrell making his guitar just cry out throughout the track.
Makes you feel like you're down in a hole.
A little bit, which is one of the most iconic tracks on the album and happens to be the next track.
This was the 5th single from the album, and I'm sure you've all heard it so many times in your lives. But this will always still be one of my favorite Alice in Chains songs and one of my favorite songs in general. It's just a great song. This is another one. This one's written by Jerry Cantrell, lyrics and everything. As odd as it sounds, I looked into this, and he wrote this song for his girlfriend. Not as a love song, though, but as a means of expressing kind of like a statement of the reality of his life, like the way he felt. I guess trying to give her some insight into what goes on inside the mind
like
of
some
Jerry
frustration.
Cantrell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not even anything negative. It's just like, this is what's going on up here.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in this song so you can understand it. Because I was like, when I first read it, I was like, you wrote that for his girl? That's not a love song. That's
fucking dark.
If you've never shed a tear listening to this song, you might not be human.
Yeah, this is a haunting ballad with heavy riffs and melodic, introspective lyrics. How many times have you put this on when you're having a bad day down in a hole?
The bad thing is, though, it does nothing to get you out of the hole.
No, it puts you further in, much like a lot of their songs.
It helps you wallow in it, and I spent a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
I guess it's good to know that someone else was feeling as low as you were, but you almost need, it's like the stages of grief, right? So you listen to Down in a Hole first, and then the next day you get yourself up and you put on Hate Breed Perseverance.
You got to, because if you stay down in that hole, man, forget it.
Yeah.
And Alice in Chains will put you in that hole.
So Sick Man is the next song. They picked the tempo back up here. This is an interesting one, I think, because of the divergence between the verse and the chorus. Then really somber bridge midway through with a very funereal guitar solo. Also, who wins in a fight? Sick Man or Spoon Man?
Oh, there you go. I prefer Spoon Man. But this is sandwiched between two ballads, and the track is chaotic. Remember, we don't share notes. So the verses are upbeat, juxtaposed to the weird, down and out choruses. It's complete opposites. There's some creepy laughing through the middle before the solo that's really interesting.
So the next song is Rooster.
I've never heard of it.
This was the fourth single from the album. And again,
Rooster?
this is another Alice in Chains song that's instantly recognizable. Another one written by Jerry Cantrell for his father, whose nickname was the Rooster, and served in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. Much like Metallica's One, this one deals with the emotional and psychological scars that his dad had to face upon returning home. It's a hauntingly beautiful song with more vocal harmonies and a lugubrious guitar solo.
It's a standout moment in the entire discography. Everybody knows Rooster. It's absolutely haunting. The pain in his vocal when it kicks in, it's just raw and absolutely intense.
So Junkhead, another great song. This song actually has my favorite guitar solo on this album.
That's a track about drug addiction pushed along by Cantrell's heavy riffing that paints the picture of the hopelessness.
They're all about the hopelessness, these guys.
They're dark and depressing, that's for sure.
So now we're getting into the title track.
Dirt.
Does it do justice to the album title? It definitely captures the vibe of the album. It's gloomy as fuck. Dark lyrics. Vocal harmonies. Beautiful guitar work. One who doesn't care is one who shouldn't be. I've tried to hide myself from what is wrong with me.
What is wrong with you? Cantrell's atmospheric guitar work stands out, with Lane's once again haunting vocal. These guys just complemented each other so perfectly. Like peanut butter and jelly.
Godsmack
That band sucks.
is the next song. Great song title. Terrible band.
So didn't the band name themselves after this song?
I've heard different accounts, but they totally did. They totally did.
Okay.
Interesting effect that they put on Cantrell's voice here at the beginning. It almost sounds like a goat singing, and I think I could just do without it. If you listen closely, you can hear some of that funk influence from the previous album creeping in here. Overall, it's just a weird song. I don't dislike it, but I definitely wouldn't seek this one out.
Yeah, I could have done without this track. The chorus has a funk vibe to it. I'm not a fan of how Lane's doing his vocal through the verses, but that could have been Cantrell. I'm not really sure. Either way.
Yeah, I mix it up sometimes who's doing what. It's very hard to tell sometimes.
It is until you get to the William Duvall years, then it's obvious which one was Cantrell.
Yeah. So the next track is Intro Dream Sequence. Sometimes it's just called Untitled.
Ironglad.
Yeah, and that too. It's just a weird little interlude featuring Justin's favorite vocalist of all time, Tom Araya.
Who? Tom who? Slayer.
It's just something they put on here for funsies. Doesn't really add just there. Hate to Feel is next. Mid-tempo song that just kind of sludges along. This one was written by Staley, but it just feels a bit derivative of some of the other songs to me. It's not bad. It's just not a standout song.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers here, but the standout moment is the solo. It adds a depth of emotion to the track. There's a cool drum and bass behind it that's reminiscent of Led Zeppelin to me.
Okay. All right. So Angry Chair is next.
Angry Chair.
Angry Chair. If you look behind me, there's an Angry Chair sign. Angry Chair Brewing. Go check them out if you're ever in Florida. They make some of the best fucking beers you'll
Your
ever
finger
have.
almost touched the sign. A little low.
This is another song that was written by Lane. And I have to say, outside of the songs on Jar of Flies, this is probably my favorite Alice in Chains song.
It's up there.
This shit is depressing as fuck in both message and delivery. Is it positioned properly on the album? No, not in my opinion. I think it stalls the momentum a little bit, having this song right here after Have to Feel. But that's just nitpicking. It's a fantastic song, and I'll listen to it any way you want to give it to me. It's great.
Yeah, Angry Chair is yet another iconic track with a riff that everybody knows. Catchy, memorable chorus. It's one of my favorite tracks from the band.
So Wood is next. There's no better way to close out this album, in my opinion.
Wood.
This was actually the first single on the album. At first, I thought it was an odd choice because it's kind of a mid-tempo song, but so are almost all the songs on this album. I think anyone that heard this single and went on to buy the album, you got exactly what you signed up for.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard, it's the best way to close it out.
Would you believe in an album full of classics, this is the most streamed track?
No, I would not believe that this is more streamed than Angry Chair
It is.
or Them Bones. That's crazy.
Yeah. Again, with the
I mean, Wood is a fantastic song. Don't get me wrong, but
iconic riffs from Cantrell, haunting melodies from Lane. It's a perfect closer. This album showcases the band's ability to blend heavy riffs, haunting melodies, and dark, introspective lyrics. It's a formula that worked for this entire album and never got old, as almost every track still felt unique and fresh. This is the Alice in Chains album, and the only knock I have is it may be a few songs too long. Godsmack comes to mind. An almost perfect album. This is what grunge is all about. Dirt is a 5.5 out of 6.
all right.
Godsmack ruined it.
Yeah, overall, this is one of the most important records to come out in the 90s, without a doubt. No one's questioning that. It's one of those albums where you can go forever without listening to it, and then somebody puts it on, and every song is instantly familiar again. You're able to sing along. You know all of it. Again, just like Justin said, if it suffers from anything, it's a little bit too long, which, again, that's the 90s for you. A song or two could have been cut from this, but overall, damn near perfect. 5.5 out of 6.
Nice. 5.5. We almost had a perfect album. Godsmack ruined it. Like, for real, that track is just, it's not it. It's not there.